Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today over here, I have someone very special on the channel. I wanted to introduce you to Marieta Oslanec. She's an attorney in the field of immigration, and she's been doing this for a lot of years. And I believe that her experience and her story will give you a lot more insight into how you can go from a student to someone who's a business owner or an investor in the United States. Now, I just want to introduce that, for Marieta, it's been the case. She has actually done this herself, and she has the first-hand experience of doing this for a lot of her clients as well. So welcome to the show, Marieta. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Super exciting to be here.
All right. First off, I want you to tell something about your journey, like really who you are, where you come from, and what your story was.
Sure. So I am immigrant from Slovakia, and I moved to United States in 2007, literally with $700 and big American dream. And
Okay.
back then, my dream was to become a lawyer in United States, and I was planning to find a job right after I graduate law school. And guess what? After I graduated one of the best law schools in the country and I passed the bar exam and became licensed attorney,
Mm-hmm.
nobody would hire me. Nobody actually would give me the H-1B
Oh,
visa. And this
okay.
was back in 2010. So the market was full of unemployed lawyers. And I
Yeah.
was literally competing with American lawyers. And it was very tough. And I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't find the H-1B visa sponsor. And then literally it was at the end of my OPT, I found this guy who was willing to sponsor me. And
Okay.
once we filed the H-1B petition and the USCIS requested additional evidence, he vanished. And
Oh,
so I had to, so I had to literally reinvent myself and figure the way. And, back then I spoke to different immigration lawyers and they all told me that you have to invest 100,000, 150,
oh,
200,000. And, being a student
that's a
out of law
lot.
school, fresh grad, I mean, I was in large debt already. So
Mm-hmm.
I literally left the United States and I started my business online, and that's how I started to serve different clients. And over the years I figured that I want to serve entrepreneurs because I'm an entrepreneur. I had no idea how to run business. I had no idea how to acquire clients, what is the online marketing thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I figured it out, and 2 years later I think I came back as an investor. And then since then I have helped many different entrepreneurs and different investors, small investors, investing under $100,000 to start their
Wow.
companies in the United States. And then I started my YouTube channel, Immigration Bees, and I evolved as an entrepreneur in the United States. So I can totally understand, especially students, because I was one of those people cases when you are out of law school.
Yeah.
My law school, I think it was, I don't know if it's top 10 or top 15 in the US. It's a very good law school, very expensive one, Northwestern
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago.
Oh, that's a great
And
university. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right? So I thought, when I'm done, like I graduate Northwestern, I'll be definitely in the game and I'm gonna
Mhm.
find a job, and no, it didn't
Yeah.
happen. And it didn't happen because you're looking for the H-1B visa sponsor. And even if you find the H-1B visa sponsor, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you automatically gonna get the visa, right? Because there is
Yeah.
the lottery going on.
Yeah. Process going on. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it turned out to be pretty great for you after all. I mean, this is definitely the most optimal scenario, right? Being on an H-1B versus being on a visa where you're basically controlling the business, your own employment. That's much better in a lot
And
of
you know
ways.
what? I literally didn't know anybody like myself back then who would tell me, like, oh, don't worry about it. You start your own thing. Look, it's not. Sometimes it's challenging. I've been in
Yeah.
this entrepreneurial business journey for 10 years now, and you have up and downs, right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, I believe that you can control your time, you can control your life, you can control your even visa status in US, and you are in control. So in other words, you are somehow free.
Wow, I think that's an amazing way to go. So all of you guys who are interested in settling down in the U.S., now you know that there's not the only way that of the H-1B, but there's another way that you can also become a business owner or an investor in the United States, and you get a lot better opportunities as well. So it's really from person to person it differs. All right. So
100%.
Mayeda, I just want you to give me a general introduction as to what are the best ways, in your opinion, to go from a student to someone who's a business owner or an investor?
Okay, so look, the number one way is the way I did it, right? And the way I did it, it was I applied for sorry, I was on F1, and then I changed it to E-2.
Okay.
So E-2 is investor visa. However, E-2 is only for people from certain treaty countries. So for
Yeah.
example, India is not treaty country.
Mhm.
And there are many people from India who are familiar with the investor visa, but they don't understand that there are two types. One is E-2 and another one is EB-5.
Okay. Yeah.
EB-5 is actually a green card, right?
Yeah.
E-2 is non-immigrant visa category, which actually allows you to stay and work in the United States, work on your business. And you can do it as long as the business is active, right? So you can do it for 10, 15 years in some cases.
Wow.
But India is not really country. So basically the option A would be E-2 investor visa for people who are starting small businesses or are entrepreneurs, and they are from different countries, meaning countries outside, like not India, because
Yeah.
you need to be
Countries
part
which
of the
have the
treaty
treaty with
list.
the, yeah.
Exactly. So you have to first check if your country is on the treaty list, right?
Okay.
If you
Yeah.
find out that you are not on the treaty list, then I would go with L visa as plan B. And this is usually what I recommend to, for example, people from India and other countries that are not the treaty countries. Well, with L visa, you have to first start your company in your country, right? So you have to establish evidence that you have running business in your country, and then you are opening up affiliated office in the United States that is connected with existing business in your country that you are running at least for 1 year in preceding 3 years, right? So that's the requirement. Once you're able to establish the evidence, then you can open up affiliated office in the US and you can come under L1A. If you have team members, you can bring them possibly under L1B. With E-2 visa, if you have team members, you don't have to, with E-2 visa, establish any office in your country. That's like the main difference. With E-2, you can start from scratch and start a company in US. You don't need to show any business in your home country, right? But you gotta be from the treaty country, and you have to demonstrate that you have invested substantial amount, and there are other requirements, which I do talk a lot about at my YouTube channel, Immigration Biz. So these would be my two options, number one and number two. And I usually recommend these because based on my experience, it's the best way to go. If you have a choice to choose between E-2 and L, I always recommend go with E-2 because E-2 is usually issued for 2 to 5 years. L visa is issued for 1 year initially.
Oh, okay. So that's a very interesting notion. Which one did you choose? I would like to know that first.
Oh, I chose definitely E-2. Like I didn't, even though I started my business in actually in two countries simultaneously. One was in US, another office was in Europe, in Slovakia and Czech Republic, where I'm from.
Yeah.
But and I could have decided to do the L. I decided to do E-2 back then because, you know, it was the best way to go. And like I said, you initially E-2 is issued for between 2 to 5 years. With L visa, it's issued for only 1 year. So then you have to again worry about extensions. So
all right, that's very
definitely go with E-2, you know, and I promote E-2 all the time because in my opinion is best way to go, especially when you are a young entrepreneur and especially now, you know.
All right, that's pretty cool. Okay, so what we did was, you know, before we actually did this way, you know, before I actually started this conversation with you, I actually posted on my Instagram how many people would be interested in starting their own business, and a lot of people responded that, you know, this is my scenario, I'm interested. So what we did was we ran a poll over there, we ran a questionnaire. What were the top 10 questions that came out? You know, based on that poll, we have them written down, and I'm just going to ask you those 10 questions. I believe those will really be helpful to a lot of people. Okay.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. So the first question over here. So let's say that what if someone is already running a business venture in their home country? Now this can be a country with the treaty or without the treaty. Okay. And let's say that they're already doing about 100K US dollars per month, 100,000 US dollars per year, per annum in their company, in their home country. Okay, so what would be the best way for them to move forward in order to become a business owner in the United States? should they consider going through the whole rigorous process of the F1 visa, becoming a student first, or is there a more direct pathway that would be a better scenario in this case?
This is actually an amazing question, I think, because, there are many people, including myself, who think that, or I used to think that when you go to US and you study United States, then you're going to get a job and you're going to have the great future.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If you're an entrepreneur, you don't need to go to university or college. I know this is a very...
It's a huge investment. It's a huge investment.
Because I graduated, university is very good university, but honestly, like everything I learned over the years, I'm self-taught. So, that being said, if you are already making $100,000 per year in your home country, you don't necessarily need to go to school in the United States. You don't have to necessarily consider F1 visa, which is the student visa, just because you believe that if you go to school and you're going to get additional education or degree, it's going to help you, unless that education is specifically designed to help you with your business, which in many, many cases, if you are an entrepreneur, that's not necessarily true. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to reinvent yourself, you have to constantly find solution to the problems, and there are many schools that are not even teaching that, right? So
almost none.
Then I would exactly, right? So in that case, I would say don't even worry about a student visa option. I would say consider right away, if you want to expand your business to US, consider right away E-2, which that would be my option and solution and proposed strategy number one. And if you are not from the treaty country, then consider L visa, because you already are running a business and you should be able to open an affiliate office sooner or later.
That's a pretty great answer. Thank you so much for going into such detail.
Sure.
All right. So the second question would be, can you actually start a business when you're on an F1 visa? Because a lot of my audience is people who are already in the United States, they're already on F1 visas. And you know how the situation is right now in the US.
Yeah.
Given all of that going on, let's say if someone is on an F1 visa, or let's say if they're on an H1B, is it going to be possible for them to actually start their own company in the United States?
Okay, so if you are under F1 visa, you are not allowed to work unless you are working in campus, right? Which is a different scenario. Normally you are not allowed to work, and you should be very careful because you don't want to breach the status.
Yeah.
So if you're under F1, you should not work. However, if you are under OPT, under OPT, you should have employer, right?
Yeah.
So that's the rule. However, you could technically start company under OPT, and technically that company could sponsor you, like hire you technically.
Okay.
Also, what you could do if you are under F1 visa, you could technically incorporate LLC or C corporation, right? Okay. But you need to have somebody who's going to be managing the business for you, right? Because otherwise you're breaching the status. You should never ever pay yourself under F1 visa if you are the owner of that LLC or C corporation, because you are breaching the status, right?
Right.
So this is something to keep in mind. And there are, by the way, many smart students who are obviously figuring this out because they are not able to find H1B visa sponsor, or maybe they have found the sponsor, but the sponsor, there is some sort of complication, or they were not selected in H1B visa lottery, right?
Yeah. All right, that's pretty great. I mean, so if you're on an F1 visa, then you've got to be very, very careful not to breach the status. But apart from that, it still can happen. All right, that's a pretty, good scenario.
You can, I would say, if you're under F1 visa or J1 or M1, you can actually incorporate business, right? Wow. That's okay. There is a difference between running a business and incorporating a business, or being employed by the company, right? So if you actually start your LLC or C corporation under student status, you can do that. That's okay. You can incorporate a business. You can be the founder, right, of certain company.
Sooner or later, we can look into change of status as well.
Later on, you need to, if you want to work for that company, if you want to get paid, if you want to, get some money out of the business, then you should definitely change the status from student to E2. Or possibly L, but the L is going to be longer because first you have to do the business back home.
Got it. Okay, that's pretty great. So my third question would be, can we start a startup right after graduation? Like you said, on OPT, it's going to be the same thing, I believe, right? So the answer is yes in that case. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, look, if you're starting a startup, honestly, based on my experience and experience of different, startuppers and,
Hmm.
people who started companies, it takes about 6 to 12 months minimum to work for free,
Hmm.
meaning you don't have any revenue,
To
no
get the
income.
company the
Uh,
profit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's just the reality, but you have to
Yeah.
be very careful because you don't want to breach the status. So I say, change the status from student to E-2 as soon as you can, as soon as you have funds, and then get going.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. So the fourth question would be, what's the minimal capital in your view to start a business in the United States on both the visa types?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so with E-2, normally lawyers would tell you that you have to invest 100,000, and that's not true.
Okay.
You don't have to invest 100,000. You have to invest substantial amount of capital, and that is usually calculated based on that specific model, business model, right? So,
All
for
right.
example, let's be very practical these days. Let's say you run a YouTube channel, right? Like we
Hmm.
both have YouTube channels, right?
Yeah.
And YouTube is not going to pay you a lot of money until
Hmm.
you are like you have a million subscribers, right?
Yeah.
But you can still start making small amounts of money. You can drive the traffic to your business, and in that case everything is organic, so you don't really pay a lot of money to generate
Exactly.
traffic.
Yeah.
So in that case, if let's say you are starting a digital agency, you don't necessarily, because it's a service or type of business, you don't necessarily need large sums of money to
Sum
get
of money.
started, right? You
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have large startup costs, right? But here's the deal. With E-2 visa, you have to demonstrate that you have invested some amount, right? And the definition is substantial, and it is connected with the business model. Yet, based on my experience, I wouldn't go under 50,000.
Okay.
And because, if it's like $10,000 investment, I never heard E-2 visa approval with $10,000, right? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
personally would consider in that case to invest 50,000, but then make sure you invest wisely. So you, for example, you can put the money into your marketing budget, right? And you
Yeah.
can drive traffic, and obviously if you have all the systems in place and everything is set up for you, then you should definitely invest into startup because that makes sense. But also, you also need to show that you, for example, have a connection with the United States, right? Especially now when people are starting online businesses.
Hmm.
And if you want to apply for, and I think this is very important advice, especially if you're a young entrepreneur and you are running business online and you plan to create a structure online, which I
Hmm.
do recommend, obviously,
Yeah.
but you still need to be connected with the United States, right? So for example, you have office headquarters in the United States, you actually have physical office in the United States, and you
Okay.
can document by evidence that this is the case, right? Because otherwise USCIS can ask you, why do you need to be in the US if you run business 100% online, right? What's
Yeah.
the connection, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this is the info, guys. You do not get this info just off the internet. I've actually read a lot about these visa types. I'll tell you that information over here that Marietta is giving you, that's something that she's giving you from her own experience, and
Yeah.
a lot of that is also available on her channel. I'm going to leave the link to that in the description. So definitely consider checking that out, because that's something that I believe will take you a long way in your journey. All right. Continuing with the questions. Um, so number six, what would be the what are the biggest sort of challenges that you would see uh, in starting a business as an immigrant?
Okay, so I tell you from my own experience as an immigrant entrepreneur, and I also tell you from what I've been seeing, all the years. And this is something that I really believe in, and that's mindset.
Okay.
Mindset is everything as an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
and also as an aspiring immigrant entrepreneur, because it's not easy to come to US and start business from scratch and invest. Let's say you have a capital of 50,000, and that's
Hmm.
all you got, and you're gonna now suddenly invest everything to United States, and you don't know how things are gonna go.
Yeah.
You have to have the right mindset, and I feel like many times people do have the capital, they have the good business idea, but they don't have the right mindset. And when I say mindset, I mean winning mindset, like to be able and willing to do whatever it takes and
Yeah.
never give up, because you're going to face challenges and
Yeah.
so many obstacles on the way. So I feel like that's the number one. And number two is obviously the financial resources. If you are a young entrepreneur and you're starting a business, but guess what, these days we have so many opportunities that we didn't have 15 years ago or 20 years ago. So at the same time, it depends how you look at it. It again comes down to the mindset.
Yeah. All right. So I think the number one would be the mindset. You got to be strong in the head. There's a lot of up and downs, and if that's all right, then hopefully you will be having a lot better chance at running a successful business in the United States. All right. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Okay, let's move on to question number 7. And this is also a very frequent question. People ask, does the location matter? Let's say you do all the process, you go through the E1 or the L visa process,
E-2.
E2 and or the L visa process, and you get to the United States eventually, but would the location matter? And if yes, what would be the best location for their startup?
So the location in terms of settling in, like it doesn't really matter. Every state is obviously different. I personally lived in different states, so I can compare the Midwest, the East Coast, and West Coast.
Okay.
And you should consider. I would say depends on what's your budget and what's your end goal. Like obviously, if you are family, you have small kids, then I would maybe suggest check out Florida. And also the living expenses in Florida are not that bad compared to, for example, New York City or San Francisco or LA, right?
Yeah.
So it really depends on your budget. But when you ask me is the location dependent on the visa approval? No, it's not.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter. When it comes to incorporation of your business, I usually suggest you either incorporate in state of Delaware if your business is national or international, or you run it online. But if you are running a physical office and if you have a local business, then you need to incorporate in that particular state where you're going to reside.
Got it. That's a lot of good advice right there. Okay, so let's say that we'll move on to the 8th question now. Okay, so people ask, does studying in the USA improve one's chances of being able to start their company in the USA? If yes, does the program of study matter?
I would say no,
No?
because,
Okay.
no, I say no,
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
90% of entrepreneurs that I have helped, they never studied in the United States.
yeah. Okay.
And I can share my experience again. I studied in the United States, and everything I learned has nothing to do with building a business, because when I started my company, I had no idea how to market my services, and I had to learn everything on my own. So it doesn't really matter. Like, I believe personally that the education you acquire in the United States just for the sake of getting the student visa and living the American dream has nothing to do with your future company, unless it's connected, right? If you're studying, I don't know, IT, and you need it for whatever you want to do, then yes. But for
In the field
example,
of
me,
IT,
like,
yeah.
obviously I was in law school becoming a lawyer. In order to do what I do right now, I
Yeah,
need law degree, so it's connected, right? So I
yeah.
wouldn't be able to do what I do right now without law degree. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you're starting a company, you need to go to school in the United States. And if you ask me if that's going to add any value, or if that's going to help your E-2 visa case, not necessarily. Of course, you have to show that you are credible person and you do have experience to be able to run this business, that particular business you're starting. But just because you don't have the degree doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be approved.
All
So
right.
in my opinion, as an entrepreneur, you don't need education.
Yeah, same here. I feel the same.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. So definitely, the program of study, if it's going to be something like it's connected, just like in your case, you need a law degree to sort of, pursue the field that you're doing right now, pursue the business that you're doing right now. In that case, it's fine. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's not really going to impact the, visa process in most cases.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll move on to the 9th question over here. So a lot of people were, crazy about this question. They were asking, what kind of businesses are supported? Does it have to be tech or legal firms, or can it just be a food truck or general store?
Yeah, any kind of business, as long as you are actively engaged with this company, as long as it's a real investment, not speculative investment. For example, if you're buying a real estate property, you want to make sure that you are actually investing into a business. So you have to create a company that is, for example, doing the
Yeah.
flip and fix property type of business.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And if you just buy a property and you think you're going to get a visa, E-2 visa, unfortunately it doesn't work like that under the current immigration. So any kind of business, it doesn't really matter. It can be food truck, it can be truck business, it can be digital agency, consulting, online coaching, law firm, accounting firm, restaurant, bars, beauty salons, massage therapies, nutritionists, anything.
Wow.
You name
Okay.
it.
All right. That works best. Okay, great. So, I think we'd like to wrap up over here with last question. Any special cases, I know that you've been working with a lot of people. So in all your years of experience, any special cases or any particular case that stands out that you may have helped and things may have been a little bit crazy that you would like to share about?
Yeah, and I think I'm just going to share what comes up to my mind. It's a specifically online coaching business model, because this was a lady, she came to me after 9 immigration lawyers told her she has no case.
Wow.
Because the model was online coaching and also in-person coaching, but she has a lot of online coaching, seminars, workshops, and the group coaching model that is really, I feel like there are more and more people who are taking this type of business model
Yeah,
and considering
nowadays.
right nowadays.
Yeah.
So this model was very unique. This was like 3 years ago, I believe, when we started to work on her case. And yeah, 9 other lawyers said no, and I immediately knew, like, yeah, it can be done. And yeah, she's now running a very successful business in California, in LA, and things are happening. So this is just an example. Like, just because your business is outside of the box doesn't mean it's not going to be eligible, right? And
Wow.
I feel like people need to know that, because there are many people now who are going online and considering online business model, and more people will be online. And I don't know, I read this article somewhere that in 2 to 5 years, will every second person or every third person will be working online remotely. So yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, so let's say that some of these people from our audience are also interested in something like that. They already may have some businesses, because I've come across a lot of people who already have these sort of businesses, online businesses. What would be the best way to connect with you in that case?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find more information about me at immigrationbees.com, or just find my YouTube channel, Immigration Bees, or my Instagram at immigrationbees, and yeah, reach out. Absolutely.
Right. So guys, again, I just want to point out, I'll be leaving the link to Marieta's channel, the Immigration Biz channel, in the description of this video. Now, before we quit, I'd like to know more about your book. I know that you've published a book. It's called Love is the Law.
Yeah.
So some more information on that. Well, okay, she has it up here.
Can you see?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
The green screen may be getting in the way a little bit, but yeah, we can see it. Yeah. Now it's
Okay,
perfect. Yeah.
well, you see it, you don't see it. You can find it at
I'll put an image
loveisthelaw.com.
of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is it's my personal storybook, but it's also motivational self-help book. And I feel like more and more people these days, we are living in turbulent times, and I feel like the number one thing we need to keep is the positive mindset. So really the book is helping you to activate your inner genius by applying universal laws that are in my book. And yeah, I love this book. I'm launching the book in Europe this year. I'm super excited, and people can find it at loveisthelaw.com, which is, by the way, a part of my other company where I'm coaching people. And this is a coaching for purpose-driven individuals, anybody who wants to create a change in the world, uplift humanity. It's all about this second business that I run here.
Wow, okay, that's pretty great. I mean, even for student entrepreneurs who would be, or young entrepreneurs who would be going overseas, I think that's a pretty great way to keep on, motivating yourself and get your things right, right?
Oh
So
yeah, it's 100% connected, you know, and I feel like people need push and they need motivation. And yeah, the book has my story, like how I moved to US and I'm sharing all my struggles and I'm being very vulnerable and encouraging. So 100% I recommend it to read for anybody who wants to follow their dreams and
mhm.
activate their genius.
Wow. Okay. I also actually saw that you already have another YouTube channel that you recently started. Is the
Yes,
book and the
that's
skill
my
connected? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So in that channel, I am talking about topics that are all about self-help, self-development, spirituality, motivational, inspiration, and taking you to the next level.
Okay.
So yeah, it's my brand new YouTube channel. I started a couple of months ago, but now I'm adding content twice a week minimum. So it's definitely worth checking out.
All right. So I believe that channel is called Marieta Oslanec. It's with your name, right?
Yes,
All
yes.
right. I'll leave the link to that as well in the description, guys. For any of you who is interested in content like that, I believe you should definitely, check it out at least once, just to make sure that your mindset kind of aligns with what she's talking about here. It's a great place to be. All right. Thank you so much for joining me here, Marieta. I believe
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
covers almost everything that most people were asking. Like these 10 questions were on there all the time, and I've been
Yeah.
getting a lot of them. And thank you so much. One more time again, if you guys would like to connect with Marieta, I know I'll leave the link to her description, her website also in the description, so you can go on, check it out over there. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I actually want to hear from whoever is watching this video. So you guys can leave a comment below this video. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask. I do want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about this? And maybe if there is a great feedback, we can do number 2 video together,
Sounds good.
right?
Sounds great.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today here, Marieta.
my
Um,
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I hope we see you again, and thank you. All right.